You're tuned in to the TVL Rundown, a comprehensive weekly look at the athletics inside the Twin Valley League. The TVL Rundown is a service of B&D Buildings in Axtell and the Citizens National Bank in Greenleaf.
B&D Buildings of Axtell specializes in post-frame buildings. Give them a call for stud-frame buildings with complete concrete and electrical work included. It's one call to get the job done. B&D Buildings, specializing in post-frame building construction, plus repairs and more. Always free estimates. Give them a call. B&D Buildings of Axtell, 785-294-0147. B&D Buildings at 785-294-0147.
Another reason to make the Citizens National Bank your bank. With the century of experience, you know you can count on us for convenient banking and personal service for people you know and trust. With extended hours and online banking for all your financial needs. Another reason to make the Citizens National Bank your bank.
Welcome to the TVL Rundown with Max Blaske, joined along with Jeff Wurtz. Jeff, another busy week in the TVL, but cross-country rankings finally came out for the state of Kansas this week, and a lot of area teams are seeing their names on those rankings.
It's just another sport where we just constantly see TVL teams. Actually spoke to some state media this week, and they said no shock seeing more Twin Valley League teams in more polls. To give you an update on that, it is the Centralia girls. They are number 5 in the state this week. Always a popular squad, always a squad that's really in the cross-country ranks every year. Also, on the boys' side, it is the Axtell boys who are currently ranked number 3, and the Centralia boys as well check in at number 6. So, again, just another occasion where you're going to see a lot of TVL action and a lot of top teams in the Twin Valley League dominating another sport.
Used to seeing a lot of TVL names in the top 10 of these state rankings, Jeff, and especially with cross-country, kids compete against each other, throughout the year, and I think Thursday an opportunity to see some of those runners.
An opportunity to see a lot of those runners, and at the same time, head over to Onega as we have a multitude of TVL teams there. Axtell, Centralia, Clifton Clyde, Frankfort, Hanover, Lynn, Valley Heights, and Washington County, all at Onega. So, yes, you get the top teams there, and you get some really good teams that maybe aren't ranked yet, and maybe towards the later of the year have a really good shot. I think some of these teams have some incredible athletes, and that's where, Max, we talked about this last week, this is where it comes from, the dominance of the other sports. I really think cross-country especially builds great athletes, and maybe that's really the root cause of what you see with the rest of the athletics in the Twin Valley League.
You hit it on the nail on the head there. I think between the kids that not only do dual sports, but then, like you said, the individual ones that drive the rest of the competition inside those schools. I mean, we know how competitive it is, and only imagine that competitiveness inside a school. Kid gets fourth at a cross-country meet, turns around, and football teams wins on Friday, and it's just kind of a whirlwind that goes into it. What
amazes me is just taking football, for example, playing Friday night, getting all beaten up, and then this kid's out there at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever time it is, on Saturday morning, and going to go run a casual 5K. The longer I do this, Max, the older I realize I am, because there is no way that I would be able to do what some of these athletes do. And some of the lady athletes that have to decide whether it's going to be cross-country or a volleyball tournament, there are decisions that have to be made with this sport. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Cross-country is not a sport where you just participate. You're all in when you're a cross-country athlete.
The recovery time of those kids, I think they're a lot quicker than what we're standing at right now.
Definitely.
You mentioned it too there as well with the volleyball girls, especially. Sometimes those athletes have to make the choice on which meet to go for. And again, this year, there's some top quality volleyball teams out there, most notably Valley Heights, Hanover, and Centralia have kind of, I say, taken themselves to the top. And of course, last evening, there was a lot of contests going on throughout the TVL. So where were teams playing on Tuesday night, Jeff, and where can folks find those scores from last night?
Well, it was unfortunate we didn't get to see some of those top teams together. We had the opportunity last week, but now all three of the teams that you just mentioned are at opposite quads or tries. Yesterday, it was Doniphan West hosting with Onega and Axtell. The Hanover Lady Wildcats had a matchup with Blue Valley. Centralia hosted Frankfort and Washington County. And over at Clifton Clyde, the Lynn Bulldogs and Valley Heights Mustangs. You can find all of those results on our Facebook page, our Twitter, obviously, and at tvlspotlight.blog. We have all the results up from those games on the website as well as always on social media.
And I mentioned there a little bit before, I think you've talked about the Valley Heights Mustangs on the volleyball court this year having the possibility of having a real good year. Just the consistency of those top three teams, Valley Heights, Hanover, and Centralia, over the last, call it decade or even 2 decades. I guess what goes into that sustainability, or how nice is it to see from a league standpoint that you always have those top competitors?
Well, and you said the operative word there, sustainability. Between the coaches, the community, the athletes wanting to continue that success, that's exactly what it is. Just continuity in some of these programs that are always on top. I mean, I can remember back in the 90s, the 2000s, when some of these teams were always there. There are, and I'm not kidding when I say this, there are some groups of fans that just go ahead and book a hotel room a year ahead of time because they know they're going to be at state. Honestly, what says that they won't be? And you can always kind of count on somebody being there. Max, you and I both know we're going to work until the last week of sports in pretty much every season. But yes, the way you brought it up is perfect. The continuity of these programs to stay at a high standard is always incredible.
And I think what interests me this year is we're obviously far along from the postseason, but the way the postseason format is set up this year for volleyball, I'm sure we'll chat with that later on in the season, but it's going to be interesting to see how these teams kind of bounce around and make it into those postseasons like you talked about. And I guess last sport we always kind of chat about, Jeff, had another good football Friday last week. As we get ready to go into this week, KNDY will be at Washington with the Washington versus Hanover homecoming game there for the Tigers. A lot of other good contests out there too as well. Anything kind of pop to mind for you?
Well, I'm headed over to Valley Heights. I want to see the Doniphan West Valley Heights matchup. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Mustangs in that game, D-West and Valley Heights. That way I can't lose. But I think that's going to be a terrific game on Friday night. There really isn't a kind of slow game. There really isn't a game that I don't think is going to be incredible. The Clifton Clyde Eagles on homecoming host the Lynn Bulldogs. Both of those teams coming off of tough losses this past week, so hoping to kind of turn things around for them. And the one team that does go out of the league is Blue Valley. They play Kansas Christian Academy out of, I believe, Olathe. The Rams host that game on Friday night. And, of course, Axtell with a matchup against Chase County that looks to be pretty even. I could say this is one of the first games that I think Axtell really gets a run for their money.
I agree. I think a good matchup there for the Eagles, an opportunity to face an opponent that's, strong and gets them ready for an end-of-the-season run where they're going to face off against Hanover and Frankfort in back-to-back weeks. And before I let you go, Jeff, I want to chat real quick. They don't always get the love, but you mentioned the Blue Valley Rams there. They got a good win in week 2, a good win in week 1, and now set at 2-0 in the 8-man division. where's this team kind of heading, and how nice is it to see another team kind of stepping forward in the TVL rankings here early in the football season?
I think it's great to have more parity in that league. I was able to see Blue Valley play a little bit, and they are just as capable, I think, as any of the rest of the league. I enjoy parity in this league. I still think there's a couple of top 1 and 2 teams, but the middle of the pack in the Twin Valley League is a lot of fun. Very even matchups in some of these games. It's just going to be a great run through the rest of the schedule in the Twin Valley League.
And as always, as the fall season tags along, stick to KNDY Radio and the TVL Spotlight for all your Twin Valley League coverage. Again, for Jeff Wurtz of the Spotlight, this has been Max Blaske. Thank you for tuning in. We'll do it again next Wednesday. You've been tuned in to the TVL Rundown, a weekly comprehensive look at the athletics inside the Twin Valley League. The TVL Rundown is a service of B&D Buildings in Axtell and the Citizens National Bank in Greenleaf.